So, text 39 says, thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive, results, O son of Preet. When you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. And we'll just start again from the purport. Um, According to the Nirukti or the Vedic dictionary, Sankhya means that which describes things in detail. And Sankhya refers to that philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. And yoga involves controlling the senses. Arjuna's proposal not to fight was based on sense gratification. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to cease fighting because he thought that by not killing his relatives and kinsmen, he would be happier than by enjoying the kingdom after conquering his cousins and brothers, the sons of Dhritarashtra. In both ways, the basic principles were for sense gratification. Happiness derived from conquering them, and happiness derived by seeing kinsmen alive are both on the basis of personal sense gratification, even at a sacrifice of wisdom and duty. Krishna, therefore, wanted to explain to Arjuna that by killing the body of his grandfather, he would not be killing the soul properly. And he explained that all the individual persons, including the Lord himself, are eternal individuals. They were individuals in the past, they are individuals in the present, and they will continue to remain individuals in the future. Because all of us are individual souls eternally. We simply change our bodily dress in different manners, but actually we keep out but actually we keep our individuality even after liberation from the bondage of material dress. And an analytical study of the soul and the body has been very graphically explained by Lord Krishna. And this descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from the different angles of vision has been described here as Sankhya in terms of the Nirukti dictionary. This Sankhya has nothing to do with the Sankhya philosophy of the atheist Kapila. Long before the imposter Kapila's Sankhya, the Sankhya philosophy was propounded or expounded in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the true Lord Kapila, the incarnation of Lord Krishna, who explained to his mother Devahuti. It is clearly explained by him that the Purusha or the Supreme Lord is active and that he creates by looking over the Prakriti, in other words, the material nature. This is accepted in the Vedas and in the Gita. The description in the Vedas indicates that the Lord glanced over the Prakriti or nature and impregnated it with atomic individual souls. All these individuals were working in the material world for sense gratification. And under the spell of material energy, they are thinking of being enjoyers. This mentality is dragged to the last point of liberation when the living entity wants to become one with the Lord. This is the last snare of Maya or sense gratificatory illusion. And it is only after many, many births of such sense gratificatory activities that a great soul surrenders unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, thereby fulfilling the search after the ultimate truth. Arjuna was already Arjuna has already accepted Krishna as his spiritual master by surrendering himself unto him. Stasyaste ham sadimam tvam prapanam. Consequently, Krishna will now tell him about the working process in Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga, or in other words, the practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. This Buddhi Yoga is clearly explained in chapter 10, verse 10, as being direct communion with the Lord who is sitting as Paramatma in everyone's heart. But such communion does not take place without devotional service. One who is therefore situated in devotional or transcendental loving service to the Lord, or in other words, in Krishna consciousness, attains to this stage of Buddhi Yoga by the special grace of the Lord. The Lord says, therefore, that only to those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendental love does he award the pure knowledge of devotion in love. In that way, the devotee can reach him easily in every blissful kingdom, in the ever blissful kingdom of God. Thus, the Buddhi Yoga mentioned in this verse is the devotional service of the Lord, and the word Sankhya mentioned herein has nothing to do with the atheistic Sankhya Yoga enunciated by the impostor Kapila. One should not, therefore, misunderstand that the Sankhya Yoga mentioned herein has any connection with the atheistic Sankhya, nor did the philosophy have any influence during that time, nor would Lord Krishna care to mention such godless philosophical speculations. Real Sankhya philosophy is described by Lord Kapila in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but even that Sankhya has nothing to do with the current topics. Here, Sankhya means analytical description of the body and the soul. Lord Krishna made an analytical description of the soul just to bring Arjuna to the point of Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, Lord Krishna's Sankhya and Lord Kapila's Sankhya, as described in Bhagavad Gita, are one and the same. They are all Bhakti Yoga. Lord Krishna said, therefore, that only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Sankhya Yoga pritak bala pravadanti napanditaha. Of course, atheistic Sankhya Yoga has nothing to do with Bhakti Yoga, yet the unintelligent claim that the atheistic Sankhya Yoga is referred to in the Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore understand that Buddhi Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness in the full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. One who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however difficult such work may be, is working under the principles of Buddhi Yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. By such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental understanding automatically by the grace of the Lord, and thus his liberation is complete in itself, without his making extraneous endeavors to acquire knowledge. There is much difference between work in Krishna consciousness and work for fruitive results, especially in the matter of sense gratification for achieving results in terms of family or material happiness. Buddha Yoga is therefore the transcendental quality of the work that we perform. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah. Okay, so the problem is today you have teachers in schools, oftentimes they're PhDs in Indology. Look that word up, Indology. So the modern Indologists, unfortunately, they are teaching the false false Sankhya philosophy. It's really sad. What does it say, Indology?
The term Indology refers to the academic study of India, its people, culture, languages, and literature.
Right. Well, unfortunately, the PhDs in Indology are teaching the false Sankhya of uh, the false um, false Kapila. Now, you have the real Kapila and you have the false Kapila. You have the real Sankhya and you have the false Sankhya. It's very, very confusing. Unfortunately, what they're teaching in schools is the false Sankhya of the false Kapila Muni. So, uh, how would these young students really understand? Oh, they won't. They won't. They don't know that there's a false Sankhya and a real Sankhya, and they don't know that there's false Kapila and real Kapila, and that what they're being fed is the false Kapila Sankhya. That's a very tragic uh, state of affairs. Okay, so Prabhupada says here Sankhya means analytical description of the body and the soul. So there are 24 elements of the body. The 25th element is the soul, and the 26th element is the super soul. So that is the description of the human body. In other words, we have our own individual soul, and we have Krishna as Paramatma also in this body. Therefore, let's see, Lord Krishna's Sankhya and Lord Kapila's Sankhya, as described in the Bhagavatam, are one and the same. They're all Bhakti Yoga. They don't teach this in the university. They teach the false Sankhya, the false concept. And they are all Bhakti Yoga. Lord Krishna said, therefore, that only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Sankhya Yoga Pritakbala Pravadanti Na Pandita. Of course, atheistic Sankhya Yoga has nothing to do with Bhakti Yoga, yet the unintelligent claim that the atheistic Sankhya Yoga is referred to in the Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore understand that Buddhi Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness in the full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. One who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however difficult such work may be, is working under the principles of Buddhi Yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. By such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental understanding automatically by the grace of the Lord, and thus his liberation is complete in itself, without his making extraneous endeavors to acquire knowledge. There is much difference between work in Krishna consciousness and work for fruitive results, especially in the matter of sense gratification for achieving results in terms of family or material habits. Buddhi Yoga is therefore the transcendental quality of the work that we perform. Okay, so very few people understand that there's the real Sankhya spoken by the real Kapila Muni, and then there's the false Sankhya spoken by the false Kapila Muni.
So I'll just ask Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Are there two Kapilas that explain Sankhya Yoga?
Yes.
Then it said, yes, there are references to two different Kapilas in Indian philosophical and religious traditions who are associated with the Sankhya system of philosophy. First is Sage Kapila, and then it uses the reference, it's a traditional sage. Historical context. The traditional Kapila is considered one of the ancient sages of India, often regarded as the founder and or the proponent of the Sankhya system, not the way that we think of it.
Not
If
the what?
they're making the false Kapila as
The present.
as the traditional
Yeah.
philosophical contributions of this person. Like he is credited with the formulation and teaching of Sankhya philosophy, which is one of the 6 orthodox schools of Indian philosophy. This philosophy emphasizes dualism between consciousness, Purusha, and matter, Prakriti, and it includes an enumeration of elements, tattvas, that constitute reality. Scriptural references. Sage Kapila's teachings are often referenced in several ancient texts, including Sankhya Karika by Ishvara Krishna, which is a key text of the Sankhya school. He is also mentioned in various Puranas, the Mahabharata, and other scriptures. Now, the Kapila of Bhagavata Purana, this is the second, that is what Prabhupada refers to as the actual Kapila that we should be. Historical context is this Kapila is depicted in the Bhagavata Purana, a sacred text of Vaishnavism, which narrates his teachings and exploits. Philosophical contributions. In Bhagavata Purana, Kapila is also presented as an incarnation of God Vishnu. He teaches a form of Sankhya that is intertwined with devotional theism, bhakti. His teachings focus on achieving liberation through a combination of knowledge, jnana, and devotion, bhakti. Scriptural references. The Bhagavata Purana, also known as Srimad Bhagavatam, dedicates several chapters to the teachings of this Kapila, particularly in the 3rd canto, where he imparts spiritual knowledge to his mother, Devahuti. Key differences. One is on the philosophical focus. The traditional Kapila, Sankhya philosophy, is primarily atheistic and dualistic, focusing on the distinction between Purusha consciousness and Prakriti, the matter, and does not emphasize devotion to a personal deity. The Kapila of Bhagavata Purana integrates the Sankhya philosophy with the theistic elements, particularly emphasizing devotion to Vishnu as a means to liberation. Role and identity. The traditional Kapila is primarily known as sage and philosopher, contributing to the intellectual and metaphysical frameworks of Sankhya. The Kapila of Bhagavata Purana is revered as an avatar of Vishnu, and his teachings include spiritual and devotional dimension that is absent in the purely philosophical Sankhya.
Purely philosophical, purely nonsense Sankhya. That's it?
Yeah, the conclusion is while both figures named Kapila are associated with Sankhya philosophy, they are distinct in their contexts and teachings. The traditional Kapila is a foundational figure in the Sankhya philosophical tradition, focusing on dualism and metaphysics. The Kapila of Bhagavad Purana combines the philosophical elements with the devotional theism, reflecting the syncretic nature of Indian religious and philosophical traditions.
Look that word up, syncretic. So in other words, basically,
Amalgamation.
what amalgamation? Okay, connecting.
Yeah.
In other words, what it's saying is that in the universities, whether it's in India or the United States, they're teaching the false Sankhya,
And they consider him to be
the original.
original or the traditional.
You see how confusing it is? There's a real Sankhya, false Sankhya, real Kapila, false.
They're considering false Kapila as real.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the moment we say incarnation of Vishnu, they think that it is mythology.
Right. Very sad situation. So the false Sankhya is atheistic. Of course, I've never read the false Sankhya, but obviously it doesn't consider that Kapila Muni is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and an incarnation of Lord Krishna. Although I'm not sure of that, we should maybe research that.
Research what more?
Well, the false Sankhya, do they say that Kapila Muni is an incarnation of Lord Krishna?
Actually, it also said in the Puranic accounts, even the traditional sage Kapila is sometimes depicted as an incarnation of Vishnu.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So I don't know whether this is.
Maharaj is saying,
Hmm.
if the false Kapila ever acknowledged Kapila Muni as
Whether
incarnation of the Lord.
whether the false Kapila refer to the real Kapila, is that what it?
Is he considered as incarnation of Krishna?
False Kapila, he himself, does he acknowledge like he's incarnation of Lord?
At least here it's the mythological aspect category. It says in the Puranic accounts, the traditional sage Kapila sometimes depicted as an incarnation of Vishnu and is revered for his wisdom and spiritual insights.
Sometimes. That's interesting. They say sometimes. Okay. Well, you can see, India's like hodgepodge place. Yeah.
So in Indology, they always talk about false Kapila.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Does that say that? You're reading that?
I'm just asking.
Yeah. Yeah. They always talk. They always talk about the. Well, they don't say it's a false Kapila. They just say Kapila, but they explain the false Kapila as bona fide. Okay.
I mean, we can get into more detail because I asked like, what are the primary teachings of the traditional sage Kapila?
Okay.
Give a summary, long summary.
Yeah. They shouldn't say traditional. They should say the false Kapila.
It's actually specifically there's one the 7 points it summarized, but the 7th point is specifically non-theistic approach.
Yeah.
Absence of creator God. The traditional Sankhya is non-theistic
Yeah.
and does not posit a creator God. The universe operates through interaction of just Purusha and Prakriti without the intervention of supreme deity.
So who's the Purusha then?
The living entity.
The living entity.
Oh. Yeah, it's completely Mayavad. Completely.
Well, that's
wrong.
contrary to Bhagavad Gita, right? Because Krishna himself says in the 7th chapter, as well as in the 15th chapter, he makes 3 distinctions. Like there's matter, there's living entities, and him. He's Purushottama. He himself calls himself as. So this is, I don't know how they explain without contradicting with Bhagavad Gita. They play with words.
They have their own Bhagavad Gita, own definite, own version of the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, yeah. I once had Bhagavad Gita commentary of this very famous Indian philosopher, and compared it to the Bhagavad Gita commentary of Prabhupada. There's a huge difference between the two.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go on to the next verse. Text 40. Nahavikramanastasthi pratijaya navidyate swapam apyasya dharmasya chayate mahato bhayak. That's a very nice verse. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So that means that whatever devotional service you do becomes a permanent asset. So if you don't finish your, let's say, Krishna consciousness in this lifetime, the next time you get a human body, you'll start from the point you left off because there's no loss or diminution. And a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. What is the most dangerous type of fear? It's becoming an animal again. So if you do even a little bit of devotional service, you're guaranteed to have a human form in the next life so you can continue to do it.
But they say like once we pass this body to get a human form again, we have to go through the cycle of animal life. But before human form covers the form that we have to take.
I don't understand. What did you say?
Like before a soul attains a human form,
Yeah,
it attains
it goes through all the other forms. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah, but here it's saying that in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So the most dangerous type of fear is once you come to the human form of life, you go back to the animal form of life. So that means that if you do some devotional service in this lifetime, you're guaranteed human body in the next lifetime. And you'll start from the point you left off previously. Okay. So, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Activity in Krishna consciousness or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. In other words, it becomes an eternal asset. If you engage in some devotional service in this lifetime, two things are guaranteed. One, you're guaranteed a human birth in the next lifetime, and you're guaranteed that whatever you did previously, the devotional service you did previously, is a permanent asset. And then you start from the point you left off. You don't have to start from zero again. Any work begun on the material plane has to be completed. Otherwise, the whole attempt becomes a failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. So there it is. You can never be a loser in Krishna consciousness. Because whatever you do in Krishna consciousness, even if it's not completed, whatever you did in your previous life is a given, and you begin from the point you left off. And secondly, you're guaranteed a human birth of life, birth, and next birth. So okay, so that's why it says, but any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. The performer of such work is therefore not at a loss, even if his work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%. Whereas in material activity, without 100% success, there is no profit. Ajamila performed his duty in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the result he enjoyed at the end was 100% by the grace of the Lord. There's a nice verse in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:5-17. Jakvaswa dharmam charanam pujam harer bhajan apakvo tapatet tato yadi yatra kva vibhadram abud amusyakem kovarta apto bhajatam swadharmataha. So dharmataha. If someone gives up his occupational duties and works in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? And what can one gain if one performs his material activities perfectly? Or, as the Christians say, what profiteth, mixing it up, profited, what profited a man if he gained the whole world yet suffers the loss of his eternal soul? Material activities and their results end with the body. But work in Krishna consciousness carries a person again to Krishna consciousness. Even after the loss of the body, at least one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born again as a human being, either in the family of a great cultured Brahmana or in a rich aristocratic family. That will give one a further chance for elevation. That is the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. So that's very important point. In other words, you're never a loser in Krishna consciousness. Okay, text 41. Oh, are we
I
finished?
think we are done. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll start with 41 tomorrow.
Maharaj, when I search for best commentary on Bhagavad Gita in India,
Yeah,
famous, it talks about
the Mayavadis.
written by Bhagavan Sri Mayananda Chaitanya.
This is the new name.
That's why I said the Mayavadis.
The original
It doesn't say His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, or Bhaktivedanta. Yeah, who's that guy? I never even heard of him.
the best 20th century commentary on the Bhagavad Gita is
And that might be the way he titled the
his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita is Srimad Bhagavad Gitopanishad, written by Bhagavan Sri Mayananda Chaitanya, 1868 to 1934.
1868
Yeah,
to 1904,
1934.
1934.
Yeah, his original works are in Hindi and Marathi languages.
Okay, I never heard of him. Who's ever read his books? Did he say he was a Vaishnava?
which is the most famous translation of Gita. According to ChatGPT, Srila Prabhupada's first.
Haribol.
Next is Stephen Mitchell, then Swami Sachidananda, Eknath Ishwaran, Swami Vivekananda, Swami Shivananda, Swami Chinmayananda, in that order.
Wow, they got it right. Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, and it said in summary, among these, Bhagavad Gita as it is by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada is arguably the most globally recognized due to its widespread distribution and influence through the ISKCON movement.
Jai, devotees. Jai. Yeah. Yeah. You see, the devotees have made a major difference
Yes.
by distributing Prabhupada books. Bhagavad Gita as it is. Okay, any other questions, discussions?
Any other questions or comments online? Anybody knows about the false Kapila?
Now you know there's a real one and a false one. There's real what do you call it? Philosophy of Kapila Muni, the false Kapila Muni, and there's the real Kapila Muni and bona fide Sankhya. And there's a false Kapila with unbona fide Sankhya. You see how there's complete chaos in the world today. And what they teach in the schools is the unbona fide Sankhya of the false Kapila Muni.
There are many articles which emphasize on saying like those who are educated, they are not religious. Those who are less educated are more religious.
Right. Who writes that?
I think most of the web articles they kind of like have saying like this.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think that it's an intellectual play. And
Yeah, devotees are all sentimental, wishy-washy sentimental people. Only the real, what you call academia, have the knowledge. But see, now we have devotees that are members of the academia class. And they do some good, definitely do some good work, but this hasn't really made, well, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure, but it hasn't really made a difference for the Mayavadis.
I think our efforts kind of just started on that with more organizedly. So to get to mainstream, academic system,
Yeah.
you need to work within the system, and that's where I think they're starting to do like PhDs and gradually start creating some awareness. It will take. I mean, others have worked on it for like hundreds of years, maybe, or at least 100 years. Mayavadis.
You got a head start
Yeah. We
in
definitely-
academia.
Yeah. Like I think like for example, just like book distribution, it has taken maybe 50 years to make Prabhupada's books as mainstream
Yeah.
compared to others.
Now this whole thing is based on the data, right? The conclusions that ChatGPT gave is based on the data.
Yeah. I mean, the question itself was what is famous.
Is it Prabhupada's?
Prabhupada's is the famous.
Yeah.
But
Due to the
academia
devotees.
also over time.
What?
At some point, academia also will, if there are efforts to create academia, the way it works is research articles have to be published that are bona fide.
Uh-huh.
And then they'll start to then accept them in their research and then start coding. And so it takes a while to build that. And
Well, but if you look at, the academic work that Prabhupada has done is vast.
yeah, I mean, Prabhupada is the
So
perfect
many
example.
books and very authoritative.
Yeah, Prabhupada is a perfect example to the contrary of that, which is the more intellectual. The real intellectual is the one who is a perfect devotee.
Yeah.
Right. So this is Prabhupada, that's why he writes the last snare of Maya. All these people are trapped into that. So they can't understand that there is something beyond.
Haribol. Okay, so we'll end and start from text 41.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Oh, glory Srila Prabhupada ki jai, jai. Unless there are any questions. Are there any questions?
Any questions online? I didn't see anybody.
Is anybody listening?
Yeah, we do have
Um,
6 other members.
How many?
6 other members. 6 members.
6 people. Hare Krishna.